Hello, this is Brian Rezny, president of Rezny Wealth Management, bringing you an important update about the economy and the investment markets. Well, we've had a fairly good bout of volatility the last couple weeks. Of course, the year started off pretty good, not a lot of volatility, and we didn't really see much volatility back in 2019 either. But if you remember back in 2018, quite a bit of volatility really in that November, December timeframe. Kind of similar volatility, or at least drawdown, that you're currently seeing now. I've been managing money for over 30 years. I've seen everything from the 1987 flash crash where the market dropped approximately 30% of its value in one day, only to recoup that in the next couple months and continue higher. I've seen all kinds of flu viruses come and go. I will say one thing. It's interesting with this particular coronavirus, which isn't really that bad, and it seems to me that a lot of this is really being blown out of proportion. Why that is, there's all kinds of theories that I've heard, but realistically, the media. And I always stress to every client of ours, turn off the TV. Most of the news services out there are pretty worthless. They hype everything. You watch the ticker going across the bottom of your screen all day. If you're retired, go play golf, play tennis, take your loved one out for a nice lunch, but don't watch this stuff every single day on TV. It'll drive you nuts. Now, eventually, this volatility will go away. Is it going to be a couple more weeks from now? Is it going to be a couple more months? Is the economy headed for a recession? Let's talk a little bit about that. While I see a definite slowing of GDP growth for the first half of this year, really attributed to the coronavirus, prior to that, we were on a very, very nice uptrend on the U.S. economy. Remember, we're about 70% driven by the consumer plus, and overall the consumer is doing quite well. Most businesses are actually doing quite well in addition. But we're going to see a soft patch. I don't see a recession, but I do see a softer patch, meaning could our growth be flat for the first couple quarters of this year? It certainly could be. Could we see some more volatility? I think we could. Could we realistically have a V-shaped recovery and the market go straight back? That's a possibility. Could we come down maybe another 10%? That's a possibility also. I don't see a 2008 style volatility though, because you got to remember back in 2008, things were highly levered up. People were spending crazy money. Balance sheets were arrayed. People were buying 3-4 houses they didn't have money for. The banks were lending money they shouldn't have been lending. None of that today is prevalent with today's volatility. One of the concerning things, though, that I will say from yesterday was the drop of oil prices. And people asked me, Brian, how did oil prices drop that much in a single day? Russia, Saudi Arabia, arguing together, basically couldn't come up with agreement about cutting production. And they want to basically, one wants to sell oil, one wants to cut production to bring prices stable. I think ultimately the U.S. Will survive lower oil prices, but generally speaking, our producers in the U.S. need around $40 a barrel or so in order to have profit. So if we have oil prices that are running in the 30s, that's going to create a problem for the oil companies. Now, while that's a small piece overall of the U.S. economy, it still will have a slowdown effect. Now, while the oil producing companies will make less profit, the consumer, of course, benefits from lower gas prices. So there's kind of a give and take. But again, I see this volatility probably going on for a couple more weeks, and it could be a couple more months. And I think ultimately, until the virus talk kind of goes away and you start to see the numbers actually not really increasing at much of a rate, but starting to actually kind of stabilize and fall, I think at some point it'll be old news and people will kind of move on with their life. I've gone out quite a number of times in the last 2 weeks, either for lunch or dinner, and I can tell you every restaurant I go to is pretty much packed, especially on the weekends. So clearly people are not staying home. I stress to all of our clients, live about your day, spend money, do what you need to do. The world isn't going to come to an end today, in my opinion, and it's not going to come to an end in the next 20, 30, or 40, or 50 years, but there's always going to be these bouts of volatility. If this volatility is driving you a little bit crazy, give me a call. We can always reduce some of the risk in your portfolio, but you don't want to get rid of all that volatility or risk because you're going to get rid of your ability to really make a return on your money. Remember, if you are a client and you're living on some of your portfolio, you're not going to spend all of your money in the next 3 years. Our clients, generally speaking, have 3 to 5 years of safer assets in those portfolios, again, depending on risk profile. Some have more. So you could really weather any of these storms on the volatility side for part of the portfolio, because other parts of that income side are fairly stable and really haven't dropped at all. Some are actually up. So if you are being bothered by volatility, give me a call at the office. Let's discuss. Do we need to make a little adjustment to your risk profile and maybe your portfolio based upon that? Or do you stay the course? We can discuss either one. As always, we appreciate your business, your concerns, and if you have any questions, please call the office. Myself or my staff would love to talk to you. And just kind of as a side note, run out to Costco immediately and buy all the toilet paper you can, because they're not going to have any pretty soon. Just joking about that, but it just goes to show you how crazy a small percentage of the population is. They're getting in fistfights over toilet paper. Could you imagine if things were really, really bad in the world? Stock up now? I don't think so. Live your life, enjoy life. Life is short. And again, call us if you do have any questions or concerns. Have a safe and profitable day.